Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Amritpal Singh. Coming up in the next 1 hour, French President Emmanuel Macron calls on Prime Minister Modi. Leaders reaffirm commitment to strengthen India-France strategic partnership. The Prime Minister calls for peaceful resolution of conflicts in Ukraine and West Asia. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar calls the India-Russia ties as steadiest since the World War II. Holds talks with Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov in Moscow. Also calls on President Putin. Israel announces the first steps of operation to take over the Gaza city. Also approves settlement project which splits the West Bank in two. Taiwan's defense spending to surpass 3% of GDP by next year. Premier Cho Jung-tai says the move to safeguard the island's sovereignty. Parliament passes the bill to ban money-based online games. Apps to be shut down. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday received a phone call from French President Emmanuel Macron. The leaders exchanged views on the ongoing efforts for peaceful resolution of conflicts in Ukraine and West Asia. President Macron shared assessment on the recent meetings held between the leaders of Europe, the United States and Ukraine in Washington, D.C. He also shared his perspectives on the situation in Gaza. Prime Minister Modi reiterated India's consistent support for peaceful resolution of the conflicts and early restoration of peace and stability. The leaders also reviewed progress in bilateral cooperation agenda, including in areas of trade, defense, civil, nuclear cooperation, among others. They reaffirmed the joint commitment to strengthening India-France strategic partnership and mark 2026 as a year of innovation in a befitting manner. President Macron also conveyed support for early conclusion of the free trade agreement or the FTA between India and the European Union. The leaders agreed to remain in touch on all issues. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held talks with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov in Moscow on Thursday. The leaders held talks on political relationship and reviewed bilateral ties between two countries. During the meet, both countries reaffirmed shared ambition to expand bilateral trade in a balanced and sustainable manner. Jaishankar said that the relationship between India and Russia have been among the steadiest of the major relationships in the world after the Second World War.
The relations between India and Russia have been among the steadiest of the major relationships in the world after the Second World War. We reaffirmed our shared ambition to expand bilateral trade in a balanced and sustainable manner, including by increasing India's exports to Russia. This requires swiftly addressing non-tariff barriers and regulatory impediments, enhancing Indian exports to Russia and sectors like pharmaceuticals, agriculture and textiles will certainly help to correct the current imbalance.
While Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov said that Russia and India have achieved good results in energy cooperation and Moscow is interested in further joint energy projects with New Delhi.
We have good results in cooperation in the sphere of hydrocarbons and the supply of Russian oil to the Indian market. And we have a mutual interest in implementing joint projects for the extraction of energy resources, including in the Russian Federation, in the Far East and on the Arctic shelf.
And RT correspondent or Russia Today correspondent Anastasia Volodina filed this report on the ministers' meeting in Moscow.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov held bilateral talks with his Indian counterpart in Moscow, where the two sides discussed a wide range of topics, including those on the international and regional agenda. But of course, the main focus was on the conflict in Ukraine. And Sergei Lavrov underlined that Russia actually wants Ukraine to have a neutral status, and we've heard that for a very long time now, and that Russia will not accept Ukraine's alignment with any military bloc, especially the NATO. And Russia has previously stated also that Lavrov underlined that the root causes of the conflict must be eliminated, and we have also heard that on a number of times, as this is one of the key aspects why the special military operation started in the first place. Sergei Lavrov also noted that the US and Russia are making steady steps to finally achieve peace in Ukraine and to hold negotiations between the two countries. Both foreign ministers praised the flourishing bilateral ties between Moscow and New Delhi, with Lavrov stating during his opening words that the trade turnover between the two countries has increased by 15% in the last year. And of course, the two sides had a very fruitful conversation. They've managed to discuss energy sector, transport, infrastructure, and of course more. And Lavrov's Indian counterpart has also praised the flourishing ties between the two countries.
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar called on Russian President Vladimir Putin for talks on issues of bilateral, regional and global interest. Dr. Jaishankar's visit to Moscow aims to further strengthen the time-tested India-Russia partnership. Earlier on Wednesday, India and the Euro-Asian Economic Union, or the EU, comprising of Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan and the Russian Federation, signed the terms of reference to launch negotiations on a free trade agreement in Moscow. The terms of agreement provide a framework for negotiations and is expected to unlock the untapped trade potential, increase investments and establish a stronger, durable India-EU economic partnership. With a combined GDP of 6.5 trillion USD or US dollars, the proposed FTA is expected to expand market access for Indian exporters, support diversification into new sectors and geographies, enhance competitiveness against non-market economies, and deliver significant benefits to micro, small and medium enterprises. The trade turnover between India and the EU stands at $69 billion in 2024, registering a 7% increase over the previous year. Member states of the Euro-Asian Economic Union are, as we said, Armenia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan and the Russian Federation. And to discuss the External Affairs Minister's visit to Moscow, I'm joined on the show by Sushil Kumar Singhal. He's a former senior diplomat. Thank you, Ambassador Singhal, for being on the show. What should we make of the External Affairs Minister's visit to Moscow at this juncture, both the significance of it and the timing of it?
Well, it's a very interesting times, as we all know. And the visit of the Honorable External Affairs Minister to Moscow, it has, reaffirmed the ties, as the EAM said in his opening statement. This is one of the most important relationship of India since the World War II, and they have very strong ties in the field, not only diplomatic ties but people-to-people contact, defense, economic relationship is very strong, and the discussion which took place, I think they took place more or less on the expected line that both countries agreed to enhance trade, and of course Russia has shown the understanding not only about the trade deficit, which is quite big. EM mentioned the figure of $58.5 billion is the trade deficit, and Russia has shown the understanding and willingness to increase the imports from India to bridge the gap. Of course, mostly is because of the large crude oil import by India. And they were discussed about the having projects in the field of energy and other LNG in the Far East area. And there was very interesting conversation about this special mechanism and institutional framework to take care of the problems, which has arisen because of the imposition of sanctions on Russia.
Okay, can I stop,
India,
Ambassador, can I stop you for a moment? Before we go, I want to deal separately with the issue of tariffs and its, the implications of it. But on the trade imbalance, when you import crude oil from them, when you buy defense equipment from them, so the trade imbalance will continue to be there, right? How can you address the trade imbalance? What can you sell the Russians?
Well, this I completely agree with you, because it's a lopsided, and the item which we import is our bulk items, particularly crude oil and the defense. So the major is, of course, at the moment is the crude oil. So they have identified the areas. I would not say that, it will go or finish, the trade imbalance will go overnight. But once they start addressing, so they'll find ways. I think they have already mentioned, like pharmaceutical, agriculture products, textile. These are the three areas which has been identified and talked about. In addition, we are talking about the joint projects. Where they will be, in the Far East. So the investments will go. Will be joint investments. And similarly, I think we'll talk about the investments in India by the Russian companies. So the joint production, I think, is the way. Maybe it will be in defense, will be in other areas, other areas of economy, maybe agriculture, textile, as we talked about, and maybe electronics. Why not the electronics? India is becoming a major power in the field of electronics. And the computers, hardware and the software. So I think these are the new areas, in my view, which will emerge and will help in reducing the trade imbalance. It will not happen, it will not go overnight. But the idea is, I think, is to reduce the gap, which will be a long-term strategy.
All right. Let's talk about, the US tariffs and the Russia energy trade. Now, this issue was addressed at this meeting between the two leaders. And, interestingly, in that press conference, if you watched it, the External Affairs Minister was asked by a journalist that, US tariffs have been imposed. So what do you have to say on that? So he said, honestly, I'm quite perplexed by that decision, because we are not the biggest importer of Russian oil. China is. They haven't imposed tariffs on them yet. He said the EU or the European countries, Europe is the biggest importer of LNG from there. He said, even if you talk about the trade scaling up, some southern countries since 2023 have scaled up more. So you have India, in that sense, hasn't done enough to scale up trade. So the imposition of tariffs, he said he's perplexed by it. But do the Russians understand the Indian position on the matter?
Oh, yes, they do understand. And that's why they also have criticized this so-called imposition of, 25%. They are proposed, Americans are suggesting that, from 28th August, whether it will happen or not, we don't know. But even the Russians have criticized, and they have said that, they don't understand why they are doing it. And they also mentioned that India is not the only country which is importing from them. So Russia themselves have accepted, and the EAM used the right term, that he's perplexed. And the explanation which is being offered by the American side, it seems to be illogical when they're talking about that India is they're imposing the tariff on India, because India is they say themselves that is the second largest, it's not the main importer. But China is not, they were not imposing. First they said, well, we have some other concerns, it's not in our interest. Then they said, India is taking benefit. That is a term they are using, and they are not willing to address on European Union that what European Union is doing. They don't want to talk about, and forget about that European Union, even themselves. Because USA continues to import a large amount of uranium
from them,
oxide and other items, and they don't want to talk about it. But as far as the Russia is concerned, they said that we are with India, and they hope that India will continue, as our government position is that it's a sovereign decision, and these are the economic decisions which are taken in the interest of the economy, and we'll buy from wherever it suits us. And they have talked about a special mechanism and institutional arrangement to ensure that the supplies from Russia are not disrupted. So this is Russians are showing great understanding, of the situation.
Okay. And but the critics of this argument will argue that it's the whole relationship, though the external affairs minister calls it the steadiest relationship since the World War II, but things have changed. Aren't they changing? I mean, we suddenly hiked the buying oil from Russia because the world wasn't buying because of sanctions. We were getting it cheaper. So wasn't it transactional in a sense?
Well, you can say that in transactional, but the USA, as our government has said, and also the American side has also accepted, that Biden administration or the American government themselves, they encourage India, that India should buy their crude from Russia to stabilize the global market, because they didn't want to pay extra for that. So they were well aware what is happening, and they were in fact facilitating. And now suddenly they want to turn around and say that what India is doing is not correct, and we are supporting their so-called war machine without justifying the imports by European Union themselves, who are actually supporting Ukraine, and then they're saying that we are not contributing, which is completely wrong in their part. So
it's plain hypocrisy. I mean, that's what it is. But as you being a career diplomat understand it better than others, that world in geopolitics, it's not really principled stance that nations take. It is more of interests that they go by, and right now that's where the American interests lie, to arm twist Russia. It's got more to do with Russia than to do with India, to get them to some kind of negotiating leeway.
That's very interesting. I will just say here, they are not doing anything with Russia. They are not increasing any tariffs on Russia. So if they want to arm twist Russia, then they should impose more sanctions, or raise the tariff on them. They are still enjoying 10% tariff.
Right. So Trump's issuing.
It just does not make sense.
Yeah, he's using the carrot and the stick policy there, because he knows that he has limited leeway there. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Ambassador Singhal, thank you very much for joining us on the show. That's all the time we have for in this discussion. Pleasure talking to you and lending us your insights.
Thank you very much.
And still to come up on DD India Newshour, UN Secretary General's report warns that Daesh remains resilient despite sustained counter-terrorism pressure. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi holds talks with his Afghan counterpart Amir Khan Mottaki in Kabul.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Amritpal Singh. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov also spoke about the ongoing conflicts in Ukraine. Lavrov said that President Vladimir Putin is prepared to meet Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
As discussions between the West and Ukraine currently show, all these plans are essentially about providing guarantees for intervention foreign military intervention in some part of Ukrainian territory. And I hope strongly that those who are entertaining such plans, whether they are simply trying to attract attention or not, understand what the consequences will be. This would be absolutely unacceptable for the Russian Federation and to all rational political forces in Europe.
И для всех здравомыслящих политических сил в Европе.
Italian police have arrested a Ukrainian national suspected of coordinating the 2022 Nord Stream pipeline attacks. Identified as Serhil K. Under German privacy laws, he is accused of helping plant explosive device near Denmark's Bornholm Island. According to a European arrest warrant, the authorities say he faces charges of sabotage, collusion to cause an explosion and destruction of property. Carabinieri officers detained him overnight in Rimini on Italy's Adriatic coast. German prosecutors confirmed the arrest while Italian police offered no immediate comment. Israel has launched a ground offensive on the Gaza city, aiming to seize control of the enclave's largest urban center. Explosions rocked Khan Yunis while protests erupted across Gaza. Meanwhile, Israel approved a controversial West Bank settlement plan, drawing global condemnation as families of hostages and civilians demand an end to the conflict.
Israel has launched a major ground offensive on Gaza City, marking the beginning of what the military describes as a planned operation to seize control of the enclave's largest urban center. Explosions were reported near Khan Yunis, with smoke rising from a site near the Nasser hospital following an airstrike.
We are not waiting. We have begun the preliminary operations and the first stages of the attack on Gaza City. And already now, IDF forces are holding the outskirts of Gaza City. We will deepen the attack on Hamas in Gaza City, a stronghold of governmental and military terror.
In a separate development, Israel has approved a controversial new settlement project in the occupied West Bank, a move condemned by the international community as a blow to prospects for a future Palestinian state. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres described the move as an existential threat to a Palestinian state.
And talking about peace, I must reiterate that it is vital to reach immediately a ceasefire in Gaza and the unconditional release of all hostages, and to avoid the massive deaths and destruction that a military operation against Gaza City would inevitably cause. Simultaneously, the decision by the Israeli authorities to expand illegal settlement construction which would divide the West Bank must be reversed. All settlement construction is a violation of international law.
Meanwhile, families of Israeli hostages have renewed calls for a ceasefire and the immediate return of their loved ones still in captivity. In Gaza City too, Palestinians staged a protest demanding an end to the war and condemning repeated displacement. Protesters carried Palestinian flags and banners, including one that read, "Stop the War." The conflict continues to escalate, with heavy fighting in Gaza City and rising international concern over Israeli actions in the West Bank. As both sides suffer and calls for peace grow louder, the path to a lasting resolution remains uncertain amid deepening humanitarian and political crises in the region. Mohammed Absarul Hassan's report for DD India.
The United Nations Security Council was convened for a briefing on Secretary General Antonio Guterres' latest report on Daesh. The assessment concluded that the terror group remains resilient, with Africa now emerging as its epicenter. The Islamic State West Africa province is estimated to command between 8 to 12,000 fighters, while the group's presence is consolidating along the Nigeria border.
During the reporting period, a resurgence in the activity of Islamic State in the Greater Sahara was observed, while Islamic State West Africa province emerged as a prolific producer of terrorist propaganda and attracted foreign terrorist fighters, primarily from within the region.
During the session, the FATF President Elisa de Anda Madrazo stressed that shutting down financial flows is key to choking terrorism, highlighting how digital platforms, online gambling and social media are increasingly exploited for funding by younger lone actors.
In parallel, the threat posed by lone individuals radicalized by ISIL ideology, and these are often young in age, is rising, with such actors relying on microfinancing strategies that rely both on licit funds but also on petty crime activity, as well as technology-enabled methods that include gambling online, which we call gaming, and social media features.
Taiwan's government plans to increase its 2026 defense budget to more than 3% of its GDP as it faces US pressure to invest more in its own protection. Taiwan has made military modernization a key policy platform and has repeatedly pledged to spend more on its defenses given the rising threat from China. China's Air Force flies almost daily missions into the skies near Taiwan and holds periodic war games, which they held, say, the last one in April. ED India's Dheeraj Das has more.
As Taiwan detected 22 Chinese aircraft and 5 Chinese naval vessels operating around its territorial waters on Thursday, the island nation in the Western Pacific Ocean plans to boost its defense spending by a fifth next year, surpassing 3% of gross domestic product. Taiwan is planning to invest billions in new equipment to better face down China and convince the United States to take its call seriously to bolster its military.
Regarding the defense budget, the budget we have allocated for next year includes $18.4 billion in the public budget. But if we also include the special budget and non-operating special funds while calculating the entire defense budget according to NATO's calculation model standards, the total defense budget reaches $31.27 billion.
Taiwan's Premier Cho Jang-tai said the latest hike was another concrete demonstration to the world and the people of Taiwan of the nation's resolve and ability to safeguard national sovereignty and security.
This is the first time we have used such concrete numbers to demonstrate to the world and the Chinese people our determination and ability to safeguard national sovereignty and security, stability and security in the Indo-Pacific region, and the common responsibility of the world.
Meanwhile, New Zealand's Security Intelligence Service has warned that China is the most active power engaging in foreign interference, adding New Zealand faces the most challenging national security environment of recent times. Refuting the claims, the Chinese embassy in Wellington accused the agency of showing suspicion and poisoning the two countries' relations.
China expresses strong dissatisfaction with this, firmly opposes it, and urges the relevant agencies in New Zealand to stop spreading lies and creating conflict and to do more beneficial things for the healthy and stable development of China-New Zealand relations.
On his first trip to Indonesia, German Foreign Minister Johann Wedful voiced concern on China's assertiveness in the South China Sea, saying tensions in the Taiwan Strait pose threats to international security that also impact Europe.
What happens here in the Indo-Pacific has a direct impact on European security and vice versa. China's growing military assertiveness in the South China Sea not only threatens Asia's security, but also undermines the international rules-based order.
As the situation remains volatile and Taiwan has ramped up investment in military equipment and weapons over the past decade as China intensified pressure on the democratic island. Dheeraj Das's report for DD India.
Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, who's also a member of the Politburo of the Communist Party of China Central Committee, arrived in Kabul on Wednesday morning to visit Afghanistan and attend the 6th China-Afghanistan-Pakistan Foreign Ministers Dialogue. Prior to the trilateral meeting, Wang Yi held talks with his Afghan counterpart Amir Khan Mottaki. Wang's visit to Afghanistan follows his trip to India from Monday to Wednesday and later Pakistan from Wednesday to Friday. And still to come up on DD India Newshour, a discussion on with an expert on the importance of the online gaming bill passed in the Indian Parliament. Prime Minister to inaugurate key development projects in Bihar on Friday.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Amritpal Singh. India has taken a bold step in the digital age as the Parliament has passed the Promotion and Regulation of Online Gaming Bill 2025. While online money games face a ban, the spotlight is on safe, skill-based gaming and esports. A new online gaming authority will regulate the space, ensuring user protection and industry growth. Robindra Chauhan gets us more.
The Indian Parliament has passed the Promotion and Regulation of Online Gaming Bill 2025, which aims to ban online money games while promoting and regulating esports and online social games.
हमारे मध्यम वर्गीय परिवारों को, मिडिल क्लास फैमिलीज को और युवाओं को, छात्रों को, उन सबको जो एक बहुत बड़ा नशा समाज में फैल रहा था ऑनलाइन मनी गेमिंग का, उससे मुक्ति दिलाई है और साथ ही साथ ई स्पोर्ट्स और ऑनलाइन सोशल गेमिंग जो कि समाज के लिए उपयोगी है उसको प्रमोट करने के लिए अथॉरिटी बनाने वाला बिल आज पास किया है.
So let's have a look at some of the key features of this bill. It provides for an online gaming authority to oversee regulation and protect users from financial, psychological and privacy harms. Violators may face up to 3 years in jail or a ₹1 crore fine. A central authority will also classify games and determine if they qualify as money games. The bill promotes esports, defined as competitive, skill-based online games with no betting, and social games meant for entertainment or learning. The government may register games, set rules, establish training academies, and promote access to safe gaming platforms. An estimated 45 crore Indians lose around ₹20,000 crore annually, with nearly 41% facing security breaches. The aim is to curb addiction, financial loss, and extreme outcomes like suicides linked to such games. In China, minors face strict gaming restrictions such as limited hours and spending caps. The country also actively promotes esports, treating it as a legitimate career with government-backed support and infrastructure. In South Korea, the former shutdown law restricted gaming for minors at night. Although partially repealed, the focus remains on parental controls and education. In the UK, the Gambling Act 2005 established the UK Gambling Commission, which regulates both chance-based and skill-based games. Licensing is mandatory for operators offering services like casinos, sports betting, poker, and loot boxes. In Australia, the Interactive Gambling Act 2001 prohibits online casinos and poker providers from targeting residents. However, licensed sport betting and lotteries are permitted with a focus on harm prevention. In Germany, the German Gambling Authority oversees regulation and works to block illegal platforms. The primary focus is on reducing social and financial harm, protecting minors, and ensuring public order.
And to discuss the importance and the significance of that and what could be the fallout of this, I'm joined by Sanjay Kumar. He's Assistant Commandant in the Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center, or the I4C, in the Ministry of Home Affairs. Thank you, Sanjay, for joining us on the show. We understand that this bill that's passed by both houses of Parliament today aims to crack down on money-based online gaming, which is getting a lot of people addicted to it. But what is the definition of money-based online gaming? Because money could be involved in various games.
Thank you for having me. And the main thing that is of highlight here is wherever there is a wagering involved in any sort of online games, then it would be an online money game. And different examples would be various online casino apps that we see, like online card apps that we see, where you have to put in some money and in the expectation of getting something in return.
Okay. And what's the kind of crime that's or the kind of money that people are being duped, if you could give a sense of figures nationwide?
As it has been discussed in the Parliament today also, that the overall losses that was seen was amounting to 20,000 crores, and that was connected to the 45 crore people in India.
20,000 crores annually, are you saying? Is that the kind of money people are being duped of?
No, that is not directly the dupe loss. That is the amount of money that people invest into these apps, and then it goes into the online gaming industry.
Okay. And what is the problem? What are the, is it people get addicted to it? Is it they are fraud? There are frauds committed. What is the crime that happens?
Yeah, the first thing I would like to highlight is the rigged game. So whenever you get these games through via website or through different apps, then first thing we have to see is the manipulated algorithms. So whenever we are betting on something, then we expect the outcome on our side or on the side of the house or side of the other player who is playing with us. So in that case, we are depending upon the algorithm, those which are dependent upon random number generation. So that is dependent on the source code of the app or the source code of the website that is behind it. In many cases that we see is that many offshore online gaming money apps or websites which are being targeted to Indian citizens have these manipulated algorithms which make us win for the first times, but later on we end up losing big. So in the first few chances, you would feel like you are winning. Let's say in the first time you would win 100 rupees. In the second chance, you would end up winning, let's say, 500 rupees. But in the later on, in piece by piece, you would end up losing large sums of money. And even in many cases, people take a large amount of debts to even go on playing these kind of games.
Okay. Do you think... Okay.
One more thing, one more thing, if you allow me, I would like to add is the use of bots is also possible in these games, and which we have that is possible because when we are playing multiplayer games and there are other players which we don't know, so we don't know if that is a real player or a bot that is being created by the offshore illegal online money game which is being fed to us, and then those bots are programmed to win, but we might have a very good chance at our hand, but those bots are already programmed to win and they end up winning, and then we end up losing in those kind of applications.
Okay, but people willingly sign up for it, right? How different is it from, say, a lottery that people invest in? I mean, an offline lottery. There also you take a chance. Here you take a chance too.
In this question, I would like to highlight the deceptive advertisement that is behind these kind of offshore gaming, because we had lagged a clear regulation on this issue. So what happened that many times we see those flashy digital advertisements which would ask you that you can win crores by playing these games, and you can just come in and you will get a welcome bonus of 5,000 rupees. But once you enter or download the app or enter into the website, what it would end up saying that you bet, let's say 30 or 40 times, then you would get the bonus, or let's say once you get to that amount, then you would get something. So the other scam that we are seeing in these kind of websites is that people win, but they are not able to withdraw the amount that they have won. So the winnings are basically frozen into the account, and there's no redressal mechanism into these apps because these are not regulated, these are not inside India. Many of those are being served from outside India. So they don't have any redressal, or they don't have any, people just lose their money and they're not able to withdraw the amount that they've won already.
Oh, okay. So that is the problem, that those accounts don't exist in India, and so they are technically just numbers that people are seeing that they have won, but that cannot be converted into actual money. That money cannot be withdrawn.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and one more thing, one more thing I would like to add is that data and identity theft is also a bigger issue in this, because all these websites are collecting data, the financial data, the individual PII data, which is then further used for other cybercrimes. So what happens is that there's a family involved in this. So once you give all the data that you have, let's say access to your phone, or many times you give your critical permissions to your device also in these applications. And in case of websites, you upload your financial data so that when you have to transact the money that you want to wage in that particular online game. So in that case, what happens, your financial data and then the personal data that you have is being further used for other cybercrimes to target you for phishing cases and then other types of cybercrimes.
Oh, so you're saying phishing, online grooming, gnoming, etc., all that happens in these apps?
Yeah, these are the second steps that basically these many offshore betting and gambling apps are basically gold mine for cyber criminals. So they use the data that they've collected through these apps, and then they go on and commit further cyber crimes.
All right. Okay. One last thing that I want to ask you before I let go of you. How effective would be the bill? I mean, there are cyber crime, which has been, but those frauds are still taking place in this country. I foresee deals with you know the extent of it. Our police forces, our law enforcement agencies are overwhelmed by the sheer number of the financial crimes that are happening, that they are unable to sort of address these issues. How effective would the law be to crack down on these sites?
Now, in this matter, I would like to highlight that first thing is we would see a sharp reduction in the harm that these apps or these websites are causing Indian citizens. So when they don't go into these, there are large amount of losses that people are facing that will stop because of this bill. And the second thing is the boost to legitimate gaming. So there are two other kinds of gaming, like casual gaming, social gaming, educational gaming, and esports that have been highlighted in the bill. Those will be put in front, and then people would be, that those particular types of gaming would be promoted as a result of this bill also. And when we come to the enforcement part of your question, this would give us clarity to apply this, because earlier the framework was not very clear about because there was the dichotomy of game of skill and game of chance. And then when we have the clarity on whenever you have some sort of wagering or some sort of betting in any kind of app, then we have a clarity that this is a prohibited kind, and then it would be easier for us to identify and do proactive monitoring, so that if we find any website or any application that is, let's say, being served from out of the country or from foreign land, then we would be able to better identify and then do, take legitimate steps that to block them or to
block them or crack down on them. But that's, in the digital world, that remains a challenge. You block one app, another one comes up, it promotes for a certain time. Of course, the law will, or once turned into the law, this bill will be a step towards cracking down on that. But I think along with it, what is required is creating mass awareness, running mass campaigns to educate people not to fall prey to this, and see that.
Yes, that is very true.
Yes. We leave it there. Sanjay Kumar, thank you. Many thanks for being on the show and giving us an insight into how it runs. Thank you. Moving on, former United States Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, has urged Washington to repair its ties with New Delhi. She warned that allowing decades of progress in relations to unravel would be a strategic disaster. In a Newsweek op-ed published on Wednesday, Haley said the Trump administration cannot afford to let tariffs and disputes drive a wedge between the world's two largest democracies. Haley described India as a prized, free and democratic partner, and stressed that its rise should be welcomed as a stabilizing force for a free world. unlike the communist-controlled China, which she argued poses a direct challenge to global order. Haley pointed at India's increasing defense ties with the United States, and allies like Israel make it a crucial asset to the free world's security. On to some national news now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting Bihar and West Bengal on Friday. During his visit to Bihar, Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate key development projects, including the Onta-Semaria Bridge project, which is a 8.15 kilometer long bridge on NH 31, including the 1.86 kilometers long 6-lane bridge over River Ganga, constructed at a cost of 1,870 crore rupees. In line with his commitment to the world-class infrastructure and developed urban connectivity, the Prime Minister will also inaugurate a metro railway project in Kolkata. Still to come up on DD India Newshour, Kunj, a retail destination in the International Crafts Complex, unveiled in New Delhi. One of the world's largest sailing ship events, Sail, organized in the Netherlands. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Amritpal Singh. The Maritime Festival Sail returns to Amsterdam from 20th to the 24th of August. It invites ships from across the globe to take part in the world-renowned event. On Wednesday, thousands of visitors gathered in Netherlands' capital for the festival. The festival is taking place over the course of 5 days, and it's expected to host over 10,000 ships and around 2.3 million visitors. Indian Minister of Textiles Giriraj Singh inaugurated a retail destination called Kunj in the International Crafts Complex in New Delhi. The occasion also marked the commencement of a 3-month curated retail exhibition program featuring live craft demonstrations, design-led showrooms, immersive workshops and curated retail experiences. DD India's Tanvi Taneja reports.
Have you ever wondered what it takes to make and to belong? Indian artisans at the Kunj know exactly that. How to carry forward their lineage along with their landscapes. The International Crafts Complex under the Ministry of Textiles is a landmark cultural and retail destination dedicated to celebrating and promoting the diverse heritage of Indian handicrafts and handlooms.
गांव से ग्लोबल ले जाने का ये प्लेटफॉर्म कुंज को बनाया है। मेरा मानना है कि देश में लगभग 1 करोड़ लोग हैंडलूम और हैंडीक्राफ्ट से जुटे हैं और ये 1 करोड़ लोग देश के गांव के कस्बे से लेके शहर तक है और मेरा मानना है कि ये कुंज भवन देश का सबसे पहला जिससे गांव से ग्लोबल तक ले जाने का काम करेगा।
Deeply rooted in regional communities across India, their art carries centuries of storytelling, ritual and cultural expression. Amit Dhawan is working on his masterpiece that involves hand carving pieces of camel bone into wooden pieces of art. Strategically located adjacent to the Vasant Kunj malls in New Delhi, the complex provides a platform to artisans, designers, entrepreneurs and culturally engaged consumers, both domestic and international.
हम जैसे मैं 6th जनरेशन उस काम में तो पहले जो आइवरी में करते थे लेकिन 88 के बाद जब गवर्नमेंट ने आइवरी बैन करा तो हमने मेरे फादर ने इसका सब्स्टिट्यूट निकाला ये बोन कैमल बोन ले तो उसको एक जैसे इस शेप में आती है कटिंग तो एक चीज़ ला के हम छोटे छोटे पीसेस में उनको काटते हैं, ठीक है। उसके बाद जो लकड़ी का हम एक पीस लेते हैं जैसे चेयर हो गया, टेबल हो गई, कोई अलमीरा हो गई, कोई डोर हो गया, तो उस पर पहले स्केच करते हैं पेन से, है ना। उसको स्केच करने के बाद फिर हम लोग उसको ड्राइंग करते हैं, मतलब बनाते हैं उसको कैसे फूल पत्ती करनी है मैंड में रख के। फिर उसके बाद ये बोन एक एक खोद कर उसको फिल किया जाता है, उसको डिज़ाइन दिया जाता है, आकार दिया जाता है।
In another corner of Kunj is the playhouse or Khel Ghar. One can see India's traditional board games from Chopar and Palangude to Ganjifa and chess. Aman Gopal Sureka helps us rediscover the symbols of sustainability.
More importantly, what we've been able to do here is we've been able to collect dying craft references. So what you see here is a curation of patronage. The Rajasthani people have been great patrons of art and craft. And even if they've moved outside of Rajasthan, they've continued patronizing the craft of that land. There's Jodhpur there. This is again the Jali work. It's found in Banaras as well as Jaipur. And you have silver, Meenakari on silver. And this is a very ancient form. That's why you see the thick forms of the soldiers, etc. Because this is silver. And then you have Udaipur, camel bone Udaipur.
We're at the International Craft Complex's Kunj Festival here. It's in the heart of New Delhi. Well, here each object has a story to tell. This festival, the Kunj, is on till the 24th of August in the International Crafts Complex. Well, you have to come here to see this process of craft and its continuity. With camera person Sunny Kalra, this is Tanvi Taneja for DD India.
India has steadily emerged as a regional leader in pediatric liver transplants with a growing number of specialized centers and increasing expertise in managing complex cases. At the forefront of this transformation is Delhi's Indraprastha Apollo Hospital, which on Thursday launched a compelling book to mark a major milestone: 600 successful pediatric liver transplants. This achievement is not just a testament to Apollo's excellence, but a reflection of India's progress in advanced healthcare. More in this report.
Delhi's Indraprastha Apollo Hospital marked a significant milestone with the launch of the inspiring book Transplanting Hope, authored by Dr. Smita Malhotra and Dr. Anubhav Sibal. The launch commemorates the hospital's achievement of completing 600 successful pediatric liver transplants, a landmark moment in Indian medical history. The journey began in 1998 when a dedicated team of doctors at Apollo Hospital performed India's first successful pediatric liver transplant. This book offers a rare and deeply human perspective on medical triumphs, highlighting not only advances in science but also the extraordinary resilience of young patients and their families. For Dr. Sibal, who has been at the forefront of pediatric liver transplants for more than 2 decades, this milestone is much more than a number.
This book, Transplanting Hope, is about 25 stories of children who've really fought death and against all odds have gone ahead and had a liver transplant. So this is about hope, it's about resilience, it's about overcoming many challenges to fight.
It delineates the journeys of these families, their trials, their tribulations, not just the medical part, the social part, the economic part, the upheaval it brought into their lives, and how they were able to overcome it, and what was the role of us as doctors, not just as healers from a medical point of view, but also from a social and an economic point of view.
Adding an emotional weight to the book is the foreword penned by former cricketer and Indian team coach Gautam Gambhir. In his note, Gambhir compares these children's struggles to the grit and honesty of the cricket field, calling them sagas of hope and perseverance that inspire far beyond the hospital walls.
I'm sure if this book inspires even one person in this room or many more across the globe, I think this book has done its job.
Drawing from more than 26 years of experience and over 600 pediatric liver transplants performed, the book captures intense emotional battles, the medical challenges, and the profound moments of hope that define each journey. Released at a time when India celebrates its advancement in pediatric liver transplantation, this book is both a tribute to medical progress and a reminder that at the heart of every medical victory lies an unbreakable human story. With cameraman Alok, Abhishek Prasad for DD India.
Time now for some sports news. Let's begin with hockey. Hockey India announced a 20-member squad for the upcoming Women's Asia Cup 2025, which will be held in China from the 5th to the 14th of September. The winner of the Women's Asia Cup will earn a direct qualification for the FIH Women's Hockey World Cup 2026. The squad, led by Salima Tete, features a balanced mix of youth and experience, with goalkeepers Bansari Solanki and Bichu Devi Kharibam. The defense unit also has experienced players like Nikki Pradhan and Udita, supported by youngsters Manisha Chauhan, Jyoti, Suman Devi Thaudam and Ishika Chaudhary. The team will open their campaign against Thailand on the 5th of September. In chess, world champion D. Gukesh was held to a draw by a lone wildcard Samuel Sevin of the United States in the third round of the Sinfield Cup 2025. Samuel Sevin tried to multiple variations to gain the upper hand, but Gukesh was always in control. The middle game arrived and passed smoothly as both players exchanged pieces at regular intervals, leading to a draw. Meanwhile, fellow Indian R. Pragnananda also split the point with Norodbek Abdos Satartov of Uzbekistan in the third round. With his second draw, Pragnananda remained in the leading group. Group of three players that now includes Fabiano Caruana and Levon Aronian. Well, that's it then in this edition of DD India Newshour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. The app is available both on Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code that you see on your screens to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Amritpal Singh from my entire team here in Delhi. Thank you for watching DD India Newshour. Bye-bye.